Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel, and I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. And some people I thank have inspired me. I hope they can inspire you as well. We'll have links below this video to their sites. They are Rabbi Shalom Arish, Rabbi Lezer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Alon Anava, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Rav Daniel Asor, Nisan Baruch Black, David Sachs, Rabbi Michael Skobach, Jews for Judaism, Rabbi David Ashir, and Rabbi Yaron Reuven. As well, if you've never checked out this channel before, I will have a link right below this video to my first video, which explains what M.L.M for the Soul means, what it stands for, and what I'm doing. So this is part 2 of what I call Inspirations and Insights for Rosh Hashanah from the complete Artscroll Machzor. Here's what it looks like, and this is the pocket edition. I will have a link below to Artscroll as well, so you can check out all they offer. So I was reading from the overview here, Day of Judgment and Purpose, and I'm going to continue and finish that today before Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so this subcategory is called Man Makes the Difference. So if you're not following along, if you missed the first half, I'm sure you can either go back to that, or this is applicable anyway, or you can listen to that and then listen to this after. So the effects of Jewish virtue go far beyond this. What they were saying from previously, I can't remember, apologize. The Torah teaches that in Noah's time, I'm sorry, I skipped it, let's start over. The effects of Jewish virtue go far beyond this, for it has spiritual reverberations that are beyond man's ability to fathom. The Torah teaches that in Noah's time, all humanity except for Noah and his family became morally and ethically corrupt. It began with private denial of Hashem in the form of covert idolatry that later became public. It spread to thievery and violence of all sorts, reaching a level of decadence that in a way was best expressed by cunningly taking even insignificant amounts of property in such ways that the money could not be recovered in the courts. Sexual debauchery and perversion became the norm. So it became really, non-livable. I guess if you were someone who's righteous, it would be hard to live in that society. As unfortunately, it's hard to live in this society we live in now. Is how I feel. Okay. The ill effects were not limited to man. Vayar Elokim et haaretz v'hinei nishtacha. And Hashem saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. That's from Bereshit. So as Sforno puts it, the immorality of adults corrupt children, and the violent robbery corrupts the social order. Zohar, however, interprets the verse literally. The very earth was corrupted. That is, man constitutes the essence of the earth, so that his corruption infects the earth itself. So the earth became corrupt as well, the actual physical earth. The Torah seldom tells us so vividly how man's failure has cosmic repercussions. Like many chapters in the Torah, this one teaches a phenomenon that is a permanent part of creation, the law that human actions affect everything in the universe, a law as binding as any law of physics. Having been told of its existence, we are expected to apply it to all future experience. So that's why they say whatever we do reverberates and affects everything in this universe and everything above. So that's why you have to be mindful of everything that you do. Let's see. As we say in the Unisana Tokef prayer, one of the emotional highlights of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur Mosef, Hashem judges all people individually, as if they were sheep going single file through a narrow opening in the corral, and he also views them as a shepherd surveying his entire flock. These are two distinct facets of judgment. Someone may earn beneficence, both for his private accomplishments and as a member of Hashem's flock. That is what we are called upon to do when we proclaim Hashem's sovereignty on Rosh Hashanah. Each Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish people as individuals and as a group can mesh the cogs of creation into a unified machine in the service of its king. The fullest expression of kingship is the complete obedience of all subjects to the will of the monarch. A king's greatest measure of majesty comes when his subjects freely, intelligently, and enthusiastically choose to serve him. Hashem's kingship, too, should flow from mankind's free will decision that it best fulfills its own destiny by submitting to Hashem's will. To achieve this end, Hashem put man at the center of the universe and tied the fortunes of every creature to his choice. The theme of Israel's expanding influence on even wider circles of people is symbolized in the progression of prayers in the sanctification section of the Rosh Hashanah Shemona Esrei. And now, may your name be sanctified, O Hashem, our God, upon Israel, your people. Instill your awe upon all your works. Let them all become a single society to do your will wholeheartedly. Then you, Hashem, will reign alone over all your works. So this is taken from the Shemona Esrei, what I just read. The context indicates that first the Jewish people must succeed in acknowledging Hashem as its king. That will be the starting point, to be followed by growing recognition of him by others until all creatures unite to serve Hashem. So first it's us, the Jewish people, then it's the rest of the people in the world, and then it's all creatures. So that's how the progress flows. And let us not forget the wise admonition of Rabbi Shol Salanter. It is easier to proclaim Hashem as king over the whole universe than it is to accept him as king over ourselves as individuals. Isn't that the truth, right? Next subcategory is called Hashem's remembrance. Human memory takes many forms. We remember some experiences vividly and others hardly at all. Often we block out unpleasant events, while sometimes they remain to haunt us and to give us nightmares. Often our lifelong perception of a person or place is colored by the indelible memory of a particularly powerful experience. If someone proves his loyalty in very trying circumstances, it would take heaven and earth to convince us that he is capable of betrayal. People go through life with memories of the old neighborhood or the old country. You hear those expressions all the time. That often seem out of touch with reality. Indeed, some old memories are stronger than present reality. It is no idle figure of speech when people say that memory is playing tricks on them. It does more than we are capable of knowing and admitting. So it seems like that's true, that we remember more from our past than we do maybe from current memories. So Hashem's memory is of another kind entirely. It is perfect in terms of accuracy, of course, but that is not all. Hashem is not limited by time. To him, past, present, and future are not imperative considerations. This means that when Hashem sees a person, he sees the total conglomeration of everything the subject has ever done, and even the potential, drives, ambitions, and values that will shape his future actions. So with Hashem, past, present, and future are all at the same time. There's no distinction, because there's no separation, and there's no limitation. So that's hard for us to understand, because as a physical we have limitations where he does not. The total person is shaped by the sum of all his experiences, regardless of the thousands of diary pages that would be needed to record them. One might liken this to an accountant's reckoning of a client's net worth. The fact that the transactions contributing to the aggregate were of many varieties and occurred over many years is not important when one is concerned with the bottom line. The 10-year-old profit or loss might just as well have happened this morning, because it is still a part of the subject's net worth. Similarly, Hashem views a person as a total entity. Everything he has ever done has shaped him. The quantity and quality of his deeds, his ethics, morality, intent, sincerity, and so on. Hashem sees a total man as if he were living his whole life at that instant. So he looks at the whole picture, so to speak. The same holds true for what he will do in the future. The human being who is capable of performing heroic deeds 10 years hence is not the same as someone else who will never rise above his present state of distinction or mediocrity. The verses of remembrance in our Rosh Hashanah service express this concept, because they tell how Hashem remembers everything that ever was. Zecher kol hayetzor lefanecha ba. Remembrance of everything fashioned comes before you, meaning Hashem. As we have seen in Hashem's remembrance, all events are simultaneous because their effects still exist. Thus Hashem judges our total lives, and he judges all the world in its totality. This concept explains the sage's frequent reference to the ashes of Yitzchak, who was placed on an altar by his father Abraham. But we know that there were no ashes because Yitzchak was not actually slaughtered and burnt as an offering. In view of the above, however, we understand the sages very well. Yitzchak was willing, even anxious, to become an offering if it was such was Hashem's will. His devotion was so total that in spiritual terms he was considered an actual offering. In Hashem's eyes, as much was accomplished by Yitzchak's desire as if he had been reduced to ashes. So that's why they say, like, if you really want to, let's say, give charity or donate and you really can't, the fact that you thought and really hope to do it actually counts. That's the same concept here. Next section is called the Shofar, and this is based on the Resisei Laila by Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen. So in describing the framework of the Musaf service, the Talmud states that the verses of Shofar have effects of bringing before Hashem the remembrance of the Jewish people for their benefit. What is it about the Shofar that can influence Hashem to be merciful to Israel? It is sobering, even frightening, to contemplate the requirement that we accept the absolute sovereignty of Hashem and to realize that his total and timeless recall brings before him all our deeds with vividness and immediacy. If this is what Hashem's judgment entails, then who can survive it? Isn't that the truth? How can the Jew temper the inevitable verdict that he has fallen far too short? We meet people to whom the basic concepts of Judaism are so foreign they cannot identify with them to any degree, or people who, though they are generally observant, often have a family of sins, so to speak, that have become so ingrained that the transgressor no longer considers them even to be wrong. As I say, when something becomes like more comfortable, more rote, even if it's not something you're supposed to be doing, it's against Hashem and the Torah, it becomes part of you. Like, you don't realize that it's a problem, and that's unfortunate. And that's why they're going to bring up the idea of Lashon Hara right here. It's funny, I was just going to say that Lashon Hara is one of those things. A common example is the sin of Lashon Hara, gossip and slander, or literally evil speech. Gossip has always been a serious problem, but in modern times it has become so prevalent that witty innuendo is a mark of distinction. And character assassination is a constitutionally protected right that is regarded as an essential safeguard to a free society. But still doesn't mean it's right. I'm adding that. In polite society, only gross abuses of the right of free speech are even frowned upon. Can an honest person help but feel embarrassed while confessing his sins of bearing tales, when he knows that to him it is not a sin but the key to popularity, and certainly the best protection against boredom? Such sins, whether they are many or few, are like indelible stains that do not lend themselves to ordinary cleansing. Lacking proper recognition of their seriousness, we may even find it impossible to discuss them as true shortcomings. If we did, we would be at least part of the way towards improvement, because lip service does mean something. If we preach a virtue, then at least we acknowledge it as a standard of behavior. But if an improper attitude or practice is so habitual, so ingrained, that we can barely survive without it, we lack even the words to begin propelling ourselves out of the muck. For such people, too, there is hope. True, they lack the words to express their inner stirrings, but sometimes there is the wordless groan of an aching heart that longs to return to its spiritual origins. This is the sound of the shofar. It is a primitive instrument barely capable of modulating its tones or shifting notes. Can one play a symphony or even a song on a shofar? Not possible, right? No, that's what it says here. Its piercing sound symbolizes the inarticulate cry of the indelibly stained soul that longs to be cleansed. It is a cry that only Hashem's ear can comprehend and translate into the plea. It is our desire to perform your desire, your meaning Hashem. But we do not know how. The constant pounding of the evil inclination of society, culture, habit, surroundings has numbed us to your touch. Your, again, capitalized for Hashem. Has deafened us to your message. Again, talking about Hashem. As the Rambam puts it, perhaps we do not know the intellectual reason for the commandment of shofar, but it has a symbolism that we can comprehend. It is like a bugle-blowing revel, I think revel maybe, I don't know how you pronounce the word here, for a slumbering soul saying, wake up, you sleepers, from your sleep, and you slumberers, rouse yourself from your slumber and return to Hashem. Even an estranged Jew remains Jewish, so long as he returns home when threatened. The shofar is his homing signal, the cry from the Jewish heart that says, I belong here, and the echoing cry from Hashem's heart that says, yes, the door is open. That is why there was an intense shofar sound when the Torah was given. And that is why the shofar will sound again to herald the final redemption, speedily in our days, amen. It is the instrument that says that when no words are possible, no words are needed. That is what the sages mean when they say that we recite verses of Hashem's kingship to acknowledge His total sovereignty, and verses of remembrance to bring our remembrance before Hashem. But uvameh, and through what? The very question, through what, implies that we lack the righteous deeds that would entitle us to place our case before Hashem. Indeed, often we do. Often all the words we can say are meaningless or empty because we are so impregnated with outward sins. Unfortunately, that's the sad truth. But when the shofar blares out, proclaiming that even the fastest stains can be removed because there is an area of the heart that they have not penetrated. That is why, as the Talmud says in Rosh Hashanah 16b, the sound of the shofar confuses the accusing Satan. The great shofar of Messianic times is really an accumulation of all the heart cries of all the generations of those Jews that Satan thought were his. Many Rosh Hashanah may have gone, but without even a murmur of inner recognition from who knows how many slumbering hearts. But there are always hearts that open a bit, that hear and respond to a greater or lesser degree. Every Rosh Hashanah there are more. Someday there will be enough. So many that the inner sound of it is our desire to perform your desire will blast through the insulation of habit and apathy. Satan knows that. He knows that then all the little sounds of individual Jewish longing will accumulate to form the awesome sound of the shofar of Mashiach, again, speedily in our days. Amen. And then it ends, this ends like this. Vaya bayom hahu yitaka b'shofar gadol uva'u ha'ovdim be'eretz Asher v'hanidachem be'eretz Mitzrayim v'hishtachavu laHashem b'har HaKodesh b'Yerushalayim. And that's a song too, if you know that one, when it starts, uva'u ha'ovdim. And it will be, so this is from Yeshaya, and it will be on that day that a great shofar will be blown, and then will come those lost in the land of Assyria, and those cast away in the land of Egypt. And they shall prostrate themselves to Hashem on the holy mountain in Yerushalayim. And in closing that note is I hope and pray that that will come about very soon, and I want to just wish everyone, since the next video will be posted Be'ezrat Hashem after Rosh Hashanah, wish everyone a Shana Tova Mituka, Gmar Chatima Tova, and may this be the year, may Mashiach come before that happens, and then we will all live in merit to see Him and to see the rebuilding of the final and everlasting Beis HaMikdash. Amen, and thank you for watching.